Welcome to Legend Makers, the podcast where education's true heroes take center stage.
Shine like a ray from the sun, that something people look for but never can find.
Sitting in front of me today is none other than Daniella Rios. Daniella, you are a third grade dual language teacher at La Joya Independent School District. I'm really excited to have you here. I'm going to read a little bit of your bio for a minute, and then you can tell us a little bit more about yourself. You were named the district's Teacher of the Year 2013-2014, beating out 22 elementaries, quite a feat. You hold a master's degree in mathematics from the University of Texas at Arlington, and this one I love. Perfect 4.0, huh? Amazing. You're known for your expertise in curriculum development, technology integration, and you foster a student-centered learning environment that truly inspires your kids. I'm sure they love you. Daniella, welcome to the Legend Makers podcast. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
So tell us a little bit more about yourself. I follow you on X. Well, I'm calling it that now. I'm going to try to get used to calling it X, but it's Twitter, right? So, and I watch what you do. You're great. It's true. I mean, I can see your passion for the education in your students. I see it in what you post, but tell us a little bit about yourself. Introduce yourself to everybody, please.
Hello, I'm Daniella Rios. I've been a teacher for 16 years. This will be my 17th year. I've done English, I've done Spanish, and I've done dual. Dual, we do different subjects. So some subjects in English, some subjects in Spanish. Where I come from, my community is very, very needy.
Okay.
You can tell that whatever happens in the classroom will make the difference. So the campus where I'm at, it brings so much joy to be part of because there's so much that you can offer for those kids. So I'm in a place where my career is taking off to places I never imagined it would. But it's taking me to places where I knew, one day I could eventually be. So for me, teaching is what I'm meant to do. I know that once I'm up there in the classroom, I transform to someone that I never thought I would be. Because I was always the shy little girl who never talked, who always stayed in the classroom. I always stayed in the library. So I was very quiet. So once my inspiration happened, and when I decided to become a teacher, I started to, kind of unlock this potential in me that I thought like, whoa, this is something I want to do. And so I knew from there on, I want to be a teacher. And
so tell me what happened. What was it? Because I love this. This gets to the heart of your why. And that's always the first question here on Legend Makers podcast is we always want to know why. Because, I don't come from an education background. I say this on every episode, but it's just new to me. I'm only seeing this over the last several years since I've entered into the space. And I have such an appreciation for what you all do. So tell me, what was it that inspired? And by the way, I love that you talked about this unlocking your inner potential because that's what we do here. And so tell us about it.
When I was in fourth grade, I experienced a type of bullying that happened in the classroom. And it was something silly where I just, kind of started writing everybody's name down, girls on one side, boys on another side. And I remember stepping up and going to the restroom and coming back, and all the girls and boys were around the paper. And they're like, who did this? Who did this? And I'm like, what's going on? And I was like, oh, I just wrote everybody's name. It's like, no, I don't like this kid. And no, I don't like that kid. So they thought it was more of a, you're pairing us with someone we don't like. And I was like, no, this is wrong. So I remember turning around to my friends. I'm like, let them know, like, this is just a simple, I'm writing down. And they're like, no, we're going to get you. You'll see. So it turned into a type of bullying that I was scared. I didn't want to go to school. I remember one of the occasions I ran to pee. I was sitting on the floor and all the girls came up and stood next to me, like up. I was on the floor. So they were up and I'm looking up at them and they're like, you know what you did, right? I was like, I'm sorry, it was a mistake. And they're like, no. So I remember running as fast as I could. That's when I discovered I was good in track. I ran as fast as I could to my coach and, the girls were all circling me and they're telling me, don't worry, we'll get you after school. We'll find a way. And I remember getting to my classroom with this fear in my eyes, like, oh my God, this is it for me. Like, what's going to happen, right? that day I remember I was so afraid of everything. I didn't want to say anything because of course, there's fear, right? Bullying, and back then it
Yeah.
wasn't a big deal, and it wasn't as, as open about it like we are now. So I remember running to the bus, hiding under the seat, and I remember looking at them walking and like, where is she? Where is she? So the following day, my teacher noticed me and she came up and she's like, what's going on? And I was like, and of course I was a shy little girl. She's like, what's going on? And she took me out of the classroom and I confessed, like this happened. And I said, it was a misunderstanding. She's like, it's not going to happen in my classroom.
Mm.
Let me bring one by one. So she brought everybody out. She, talked to them, told them, you're talking to this sweet little girl. She's very innocent. There's no intention, to hurt anyone. And I remember it was about to be Easter. So she said, if you guys do not become friends and solve this issue right now and apologize, we're not having a party. And all I do is like stood there frozen and I'm hearing my teacher saying, how amazing I was. And one by one, every classmate started coming out of that classroom and apologizing. So when it came down to going to pee again, everybody wanted to be my friend and come over here. And I saw them like now fighting, like, come here, no, you come here. And I remember thinking, oh my God, if this teacher wouldn't have noticed me in the classroom, I would have just kept to myself. I would have lived in fear. I would have, I don't know. I mean, I
Mm.
thought the worst. And I
So
said, I want this. I want to help people out. I want to be this powerful human being standing in front of the classroom and making a difference in someone's life.
and that was fourth grade.
That was fourth grade. And I still
So you,
remember, and I went to go look for her and they told me she had moved to San Antonio. Once I became a teacher, I went to go look for her. And she said
oh,
they moved to another part of in Texas here. And I was like, oh my God. It's like I really wanted to let her know,
did you ever
don't
find her? You never found her.
I never found
And what was
her.
her name?
Miss Martinez, Miss Ida
Miss
Martinez.
Martinez. So Miss Martinez was the one that did it for you.
Yes, she did.
And now you're going to return the favor by doing it for many others.
I have been, I can tell you the bond I've created with kids is amazing. I've gone to, because since I was a third grade teacher for 8 years at the beginning of my career, I've had some that graduated and wanted for me to attend graduation. I've gone, they went through 15. We have in our culture quinceañeras, so I was part of the quinceañeras. I even had some with a baby. Oh my God. So I got the chance to see their babies
Oh,
and
wow.
we have here in our district what's called the legacy walk. So kids get to come back their senior year and walk our hallways. So I have pictures with my kids where they come back and I have those that take advantage of meet the teacher or open house and they're there to just come and see me. So I know the impact I've made on them. I
You
feel it.
you really do, day in, day out. You and your peers, and that's amazing. I love this. This what a great story. So you truly are teaching. You entered into this profession so that you too could impact your students' lives. You're here to make a difference. I in when I founded Drone Legends, I built it on this idea that inside every child lives a legend. And so I'm obsessed with that. I think that there's a unique potential in everyone. And it's people like you that put yourself on the front lines every day to make sure that children understand and they realize that, and then you're nurturing it and bringing it out. So that's what an amazing story. Wow, that was an emotional story. Like,
Maybe,
and I love
maybe
the fact of the circling back where you've got kids coming back to you. I can't imagine a better feeling. I mean, that must be amazing to watch somebody graduate and then come back and find you. They're finding you, unlike you weren't able to find
they're
Ms. Martinez.
finding me. Yes, yes, they're coming to me. I have pictures with their, cap and gown, and it's like, oh my God, I can't believe it. Like you're
That's
here. And
amazing.
of course, now they're taller than me, which is kind of incredible to see them.
Yeah.
And some of them, like their cute little faces are still there, like their innocent faces are still there, but to me, it's like grown up. I was like, oh my
Yeah.
God. So
Yeah.
it's amazing to see that transition where they're growing and they're still, they still remember me. And I think that's what I think one of the things I value the most, that whatever you do in the classroom, whatever bond you create with them, it doesn't have to stop there. And I tell them, like, once your teacher, always your teacher. So you can come back to me anytime. It's not just 1 year. It's like I'm there for you always.
Open door.
Yes.
Open door. I think this leads into my next question. So if you were to talk to somebody either contemplating entering the profession or just about to enter into it, you know, it's a challenging role for sure. And so the why has to be there, right? I think you have to have a powerful why in order to step into this profession. But what would you tell somebody? What advice? So I'm about to become a teacher for the first time. What would you tell me? What advice does Daniela have for me?
I would say it is one of the most rewarding fields when you have the heart for it. And I think that sometimes a lot of people believe that it is hard work. It is hard work, but once you find that rhythm that is going to help you establish, exactly what you need, you will find out how amazing it is for you to stand up in there and know that you're going to make a difference in that child's life. Just as much as, if there's someone up there standing where they shouldn't be, it could be a negative impact.
Hmm.
You should try to imagine, how can I make someone's life turn around for good? And I believe the support that you can offer that child, because, for example, where we're at, our students don't go outside of our community. So whatever you bring into that campus for them, to them is incredible and amazing. So it's like an open opportunity to see what you can get them to do for you.
Hmm.
Once you win them over, you'll be amazed of how powerful they are and they become when you give them that little spark that they have been lacking. It could be years till they reach you. But once you do that, if you impact them hard enough, no matter whoever they encounter, positive or negative, they will always remember who their teacher was. And I think you can find support in your colleagues. I think that you can, go out to your community, understand them, understand where they're at, where they live. And once you're in there in front of them, you'll be able to make that connection,
Hmm.
backgrounds and all that. And of course, you also have to find a balance. You have teacher life, and then you have your life. So you have to establish that, I guess, a boundary, where you can say, you know what, I've done all I could. Now let me give me my me time, my family time. Because if not, sometimes we find ourselves at home, 8 o'clock at night, and you're like, okay, let me see what else can I do, tomorrow for the kids.
Hmm.
And if you establish that routine early in the week, you don't have to worry about the rest. And sometimes teachers are so overwhelmed with lesson planning and they think that's hard work. But once you develop that, curriculum expertise, everything will come, so smooth to you that you'll be able to find that, I guess, peace that you want, you're actually in the right career.
Yeah.
And it's just a matter of finding that, I guess, reminder you are in the right place. And every day there's not a dull moment as a teacher. Every day you will find something that will remind you, this is why I'm here.
Ah,
So
I love.
I would also kind of recommend, do not allow yourself to be negatively impacted by any, veteran teachers that have been there for so long that
Hmm.
kind of, they're not good with change, because sometimes change is good and we're afraid of that. But once we give it, that, push that we need, you too will be amazed at the wonders that you can do. So it's just a matter of focus, concentrate on what you want, and just imagine, what can I do for that child that will make you know that you're in the right place.
Amazing. Amazing. So you said some great stuff in there. I want to little unpack a little bit of it because I saw like when you win them over. So you talked about this rhythm. So there's two things. You talked about finding your rhythm and then two, winning them over. And so let's go to rhythm first because I like this idea. This is an interesting concept there that I want you to expand on. So what do you feel is a rhythm? In other words, like if somebody says to me, well, okay, great, you say find my rhythm. So what is that? What does that look like? How do I know what a rhythm is? And maybe how do I start to establish one?
One of the things that will definitely help you in the classroom is to establish your routines with your kids.
Mhm.
Uh, you'll be amazed at the things that they can do for you. And for example, like, I'll give you one of the things that I do in my classroom. I have in the back of my classroom a little, wheel of names. And it's in blank. And I said, you in my classroom, you're going to let me know if you deserve to be on that little wheel of names. And the only thing that I need from you is for you to demonstrate that you belong in my classroom. You're going to give me your very best. You're going to be respectful. And all I need from you, I'm not going to ask you for anything difficult other than your attention and your participation. So the kids quickly, they sit up straight and they want to be the best, and they're staring and making sure, like, is it me or is it who? And I always give them that sense of surprise. Like, you never know who's going to go up there. And I do have some kids that have come with me with challenges.
Mhm.
And all of a sudden, you have that kid who's like, yeah, this teacher, she's lying, or and you can see it in their face. And all of a sudden I go and I write their name up there. And they're like, and their world changes. Like, my name's up there. Like, what did I do?
Mm.
So then now that kid, it's gonna be kind of the kid that's gonna help you bring everybody together and be like, okay, like, I did something good. What did I do good? And everybody's gonna be looking at that kid. So that kid's like, okay, let me do something to show how good I am. So you establish that routine where you point someone out to them that to them it wasn't what they expected, or it wasn't like the best kid in the class, or even if the kid had been up there very little times, you establish that, so the kids have this this belief that it could take just a little effort for me to be up there.
Mhm.
And then so I find myself that when I establish those things with the kids where there's a reward, like an unexpected reward to them, they will perform to you like in ways you never thought of. So to me, like, that's the way I start to introduce those routines. I said, okay, all I
Okay.
need is this, all I need is that. So before I know it, I have a kid says, Miss, we're doing math. Let me go ahead and start passing out the whiteboards for everybody. So you
Mm.
have already all the kids ready with the materials, even before the lesson begins. And then, Miss, I have the journals ready. We're ready. And so all the kids start to pitch in so that the learning happens. And there's no waste of a moment in for learning. I mean, because when I guess the management is not there, there's going to be like, well, hold on, okay, get the journals, okay, hold on, like, do this. And I know there's a lot of time at the beginning, but once you set that routine, like, those kids will give you that rhythm that you need. And
Right.
they'll start to learn that there's no need to waste time. And they'll start to learn, like, hey, I'm having fun and I'm not even knowing that I'm having fun. Like, it's how you do that to them. Because every time I introduce a topic, I'll be like, oh my God, I remember this. And this is one of my favorite songs. And they're already like, I want to know what the teacher's favorite song is. So that itself, it tells you how powerful you are.
Yeah.
So once you let the kids know, you have the power, but they have the power to do whatever they want in the classroom,
Right.
that makes the difference. Because I tell them, it's not my choice who I put up there. It's you. You decide in my
Mhm.
classroom because you're the one that's going to say, I'm going to do what I need to do, and this is how I'm going to do it. I said, you can turn in whatever work you want from me, but if it's not your best work, then don't expect the best grade, because again, you're going to determine what kind of grade I give you. So even establishing that for the kids, you make them responsible for their own learning.
Love it.
That's what they're going to be, that's
Personal
where the stress.
accountability.
Yes, that's
I
where
like
you
it.
can establish that routine with them, and versus you are there, teaching, 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 and trying to help everybody get to where they need to be, but you don't have their attention, or you don't have, they don't understand how important or the value of what they're about to learn. So once you establish all that and you give them that ownership, oh my God, like, everything will flow as it has to flow.
It's amazing. It's amazing. Thank you. That's so great. And that is such great advice. And so the reason I ask these questions is because I'm a consumer of content. Like, I'm in business, so I try to find business books and business podcasts and things. And so my objective for this podcast is so that other teachers can listen and learn. They can take something away from this 30 to 40-minute podcast and say, aha, I heard this today and I'm going to go employ that in my school, in my classroom. So when I think about art, if coming in as a newcomer, are there certain resources you could point somebody to that can help them also? So Daniella's advice is excellent. It's great. They're going to listen to this. They're going to take it back. What other resources are out in the public domain? Is there books that you recommend reading by an author that you like, or is there a particular something, anything that they can like grab and say, okay, I'm going to go read that, or I'm going to go listen to that, besides this podcast, of course?
I started reading a book. It's called 10 Ways to Become an Effective Teacher. And actually, it's the author, let me just make sure I get it correct. His name is Michael, and he's a teacher in California. So he was sharing some of the things, and this kind of talks about what I was sharing with you, where a lot of teachers think that there's a lot of work to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm reading slowly into it, but I really love the concept because one of the things that he starts off with is a lot of teachers give so much effort to get their classroom ready, instruction wise, lesson plan wise, and everything. And he said, we kind of overwork so much because we want it so, so perfect. And there's like an 80-20 rule. And he called it the 80-20 rule. And he
Mm-hmm.
said, a lot of times, it only takes that 20% for your classroom to be perfect. And you're giving 80% and working so hard to do this. And he gave an example of swimmers, right? And he said, we had a swimming practice and the kids were getting exhausted and working too much, swimming. And at the end of practice, there was nothing. But then someone started to study, you know what? This is the only thing that they need to do different to be effective swimmers. So they discovered that they were working faster, more effective, more efficient, giving only that 20%. And I was like, what? Like, wow, like it was very minimal. So the classroom itself, to me, I think it's the same thing. So this book kind of gave me that, like, oh my God, like I need to focus on exactly what I need to do in my classroom, make sure I get that done, and the rest will come along on its way. Like it won't be as hard work as I thought it would be. Um, and to me, that book right now, well, I'm reading it. It's
10 ways to
incredible.
become an effective teacher. Is that the title? And we'll find it. We'll link it in the
Yes,
show notes when we post
yes,
the show. But for sure, yeah, we'll give a
yes.
shout
I
out
will.
to
I mean,
Michael.
yes,
That's all right.
I
You and I can
I have
we'll
it in
find
the
it
other
after.
room. Yes, I have it in the other room.
We'll find it. We'll link it in the show notes. So when it posts next week, when people actually go watch it on YouTube or listen, we'll have it in the show notes. Okay. Excellent.
Yes,
And I love this idea of 80-20. I think that stands true in everything. I used to have an old mentor look at me and say, let's not let perfect get in the way of good enough. And I think that embodies what you're saying. If you try to, it's never going to be perfect. You've got to leave the room for the dynamics and the fluidity of just life to happen, right? Let things kind of unfold. Do the 20% really well, focus on that, and the rest will follow. I love it. So you don't want to burn yourself out, right? Don't try to be
yes,
perfect. And great. So so moving on. Okay, so we are optimists, right? So I'm looking at our time. I like to keep these. I know I'm mindful of your time, but I'm an optimist. I like to look at the world through rose-colored glasses. There's a lot of negativity around if you let it in, but I choose not to. And so I always like to end this podcast on a real high note. Not that the rest hasn't been, but I really want to leave everybody with this burst of enthusiasm and optimism. And so what right now, what about education today excites you? What are you optimistic about for the future, right? Because it's really easy for us, this polarized world we live in, to fall into the negative. So what is it?
I believe that in today's world, our kids have become more resilient and creative because they're more open to everything that happened to them after COVID. COVID, I think, changed their world. Of course, it changed everybody's world, but I think that they became a little bit more aware of all the different things that are happening around the world socially.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel that they felt a little bit more connected with everything that happened to us. So this helps me understand that when you're there in the classroom, you can create your environment however you want for them, as positive as you want for them. And they'll be grateful because it might not be what they have at home. It might not be what they see on social media.
Mm-hmm.
So you give them a piece of a world that sometimes, that's what they look forward to. And I feel that we have created a world where we emphasize a little bit more on mental issues and all that. And we offer more support to kids so they feel a little bit more comfortable. And you're not only helping them academically, but also emotionally on the personal level. So this gives me great hope that you have the ability to foster those kids as you want. And when that happens to you, come to realize you have an amazing power. You have an amazing power as a teacher, and you have the ability to change the world as you see it and as you want to see that, for them to see it. So I always think about, these kids come to me with challenges as they walk into that door. I'm the first person they see, and I might be the only happy, memory for the day. So I'm gonna make it as best as possible. So when they walk in here, I'm always thinking, how can they leave today smiling better than when they arrived with me? So I think that's one of the things that I'm always looking forward to, making sure that they go happy, more happier than what they did when they arrived. And
Yeah.
that, of course, that they're looking forward what's going to come tomorrow. So I can tell you for sure, like the first 2 weeks of school, I had perfect attendance, and not a lot of classroom did it. And they're like, what's going on? I was like, they love being here. I'm telling you. Yes.
Yeah.
So do that. Like, find ways to bring your kids back to you and make sure that they leave wanting more. That's what I can
I
recommend.
love it. Oh wow. Well, you're amazing. Your energy is incredible. I'm sure your kids love you. You just seem to have just this powerful energy. I can feel it through the screen, right? So this is amazing. Thank you so much. I mean, you really do embody what we think of when we talk about these legend makers. I mean, you are creating those little legends of the future in your classroom today. So I hope everybody listening to this podcast, that was such a positive message. You have the ability to create the optimistic environment in your room, right? So, and I mean, I will ask you one last question: is when you when you're human, when you're having a rough day, how do you does that smile? Do you put it on? How does it happen?
I had a coworker share with me this week because we were going to have a visit, and she go and administrators, principals, central office was going to come. And I went up to her and I shared, like, oh my God, like this is a huge deal. And I shared, it's a little bit stressful. And she looks at me, she's like, you're stressing? I said, what do you mean? He's like, it's because you're always smiling. And I think like this, she's always fun and there's nothing wrong with her and she's handling everything. She said, no, it's just that when you're in front of those kids, you cannot show that. You have to try to be as positive as you can. And
Yeah.
sometimes, you smile and before you know, it's like, hey, like, oh, I'm having a great day. So I know that as you walk into that door, everything changes and you
Mm,
decide what you want. And I had shared one of the articles in X because I thought it was so powerful that it talked about how you bumped into someone and you got so upset and so angry at that. And you thought, what's wrong with this person? Why are they bumping into me? And da-da-da, and then they analyzed the analogy and they said, you know what? That was because that's what you had inside that cup.
mm,
You were carrying all that anger and you were carrying all that hate that you were finding one moment just to let it out. So then I thought, okay, now I need to reflect on me. And so when I walk into and I bump into kids and I greet anybody and I do something, I need to make sure that doesn't spill out.
yeah.
And like I mentioned, in front of those kids, that's what you have to do. And I'm always smiling all the time because I know that that's what they need. And sometimes it's contagious. It's contagious. So someone might be having a
Yeah.
bad day and you might be the one thing that makes them smile. So I told them, like, even though it's rough, you can come home and crash in the couch, but when you're there with them, like, don't show it. And they'll even they'll be like, you have bad days? Yes, I do. It's just that we try to make it as best as we can with what we have. And eventually the day will become better. Um, I can tell you, like, I've been through so much that should have knocked me down. And I
Mm,
shouldn't have been here. And there's so much like from my story. And if I share with you, you'll be like, wait, what? And this is you. I say, yes, this is me. But because you learned from what you went through and you become the type of person that just, decides, I don't want that for anyone. Let's make it better. So then that's what I think about when I am in front of anyone. Just smile, shake it off and go about your day and you'll see how
Change your
great it will be.
state. Having a bad day, take a deep breath and smile and change your state,
Smile,
right? There you
it's
go.
gonna get better. Yes,
There you
it can
go.
only
Well,
get better. Yeah.
I want people to follow you. You should probably write a book. How, the optimistic classroom. I love it. So how about where can we find you? So I think your Twitter handle is DRIOS, D Rios
Yes.
1111. So D Rios, four number
Or,
ones, one, two,
yes.
three, right?
And every day I'm always posting a positive message to someone. Every day.
So
Every
let's
day I tag
follow you there and get our daily dose of optimism.
yes, because I said every day, sometimes it just reaches the right heart. And I hear that like, oh my God, thank you, Danny. This is what I needed today. And I had a rough day and this is helping me. So if you have that, if you want that, positive in your life, do it. Because I post every now and then just something to remind you of the kindness out there in the world.
Is there
Because
anywhere else we can follow you?
that's all
Any,
that's all we
anywhere else?
sometimes.
Yeah, for sure. And is there anywhere else we can find you? Are you anything?
Actually, that's where I'm more active. And that's where I'm usually more active in. I don't have any other platform that I
Okay.
do. I started with Threads, but that's just turns like it's barely growing, so there's not much
Right. So mostly
there.
Twitter.
But yes, that's
All
where I'm
right.
at. Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, we'll put all that in the show notes. We'll link directly to your Twitter profile. People can follow you there. I can tell you right now, they're going to get a lot out of just following you. I think they're going to get a lot out of this podcast. Thank you so much for being here today. This is exactly the kind of thing we're trying to do here is bring hope, optimism, practical knowledge, and things that people can put into practice today. And just hearing from other teachers and your peers and your colleagues so that you're not alone out there. There are plenty of other legend makers out there doing the things that you're doing. And this smile right here should brighten your day. So if you're listening to this on audio, you can go watch the YouTube version because her smile is quite infectious. Thank you, Danielle. I appreciate it so much.
And thank you for having me. It was an amazing experience, and I'm glad to be part of your podcast.
Shine like a ray from the sun.